are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
This is Kia Rogers, and you're listening to Urbanology with my dad, Tony Rogers, on WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Good afternoon. Happy Kwanzaa. This is the first day of Kwanzaa, the day of unity, Umoja, and it's something that is always good to begin where a lot of things end, which it's, I guess, a way of looking at our African heritage, those who, and then the diaspora. Technically, we're all from Africa, but the black and brown and people who were brought over by the ships. This is a way of beginning to give them something to look at. In Africa, the harvest is beginning, and these are things that was not necessarily taught when I was in school, but I'm glad that these concepts are beginning to take hold now. It's very important. And speaking of Kwanzaa and cultural and diaspora, I'm proud to have as a guest today a person who has spent a lot of time allowing for people and providing an avenue for individuals from the diaspora to express themselves in the culturally rich area of East Harlem. So please welcome Melody Capote, the executive director of CCCAD, ADI, the Caribbean Cultural Center for the African Diaspora Institute.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for having me. You got it.
But thank you for taking time out of the holiday to allow for people to know about CCCADI.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Happy holidays.
Well, same to you. And wow, it looks sunny where you are. Anyway, the bottom line is that you look bright and chipper, so that's always a good way to start our conversation. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself. I learned a little bit, so I know we know a lot of people from the beginning.
Yeah.
And about the cultural center, which is sometimes one of the best kept secrets in East Harlem. But please give us a little bit of information, Melody.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. As you noted, I'm Melody Capote. I'm the executive director of the Caribbean Cultural Center African Diaspora Institute, based in East Harlem now. We were founded in 1976. So we've got almost a 48-year history under our belt, founded by Dr. Marta Moreno Vega. And the intent of the center always has been about celebrating the common thread we share as people of African descent. So as a Puerto Rican woman, and you noted that it was nice and bright, I'm actually spending my holiday in Puerto Rico with my children. And being also New York born, of parents and grandparents who were Black Puerto Ricans, I consider myself very fortunate in having been raised in a home or in a family where Blackness was celebrated. We all talk about the different shades and the different ways we show up in our very own families, but it couldn't be truer in my own family. On my dad's side, his father was born in a town here in Puerto Rico called Loíza, which was one of the entry points of enslaved Africans into the island. And my mom's family came through the south of the island or through the west of the island. And so there's always been this connection for me of understanding our culture through music, through food, through spirituality. And so at the point where I come to the organization, Dr. Vega is also my aunt. My mom worked with Marta as her deputy director for many, many years. So when I came to the center, I actually worked with Marta and my mom for about 25 years before my mom retired. And upon Marta's transition away from the organization, I was named by the board of directors as its new executive director. So of the 47 years of the center, I've been affiliated with the organization for 40 plus years. And we've had we've had a few locations. We started in East Harlem. We moved to, we were on 116th Street and 3rd Avenue for a while. Then we moved over to the east side where we were housed at an organization called the Phelps Stokes Fund, which was an African student exchange fund back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then we had a small brownstone on West 58th Street, what used to be called Hell's Kitchen, but as everything that is happening in our communities,
Right.
It's not termed Hell's Kitchen anymore. And as that community started looking different and changing, we had the opportunity to come back to East Harlem, where we won the request for proposals for a firehouse on 125th Street between Lexington and Park Avenues that we've now converted into a state-of-the-art facility that celebrates African culture from throughout the diaspora. It's a beautiful new home that everyone who comes in just kind of says like, gosh, this feels good. This feels great. And it's a place where we see ourselves every day on our walls, in our gift shop, and reflected in our staff as well.
Well, it's always a pleasure. I kind of remember back when the center started. Marta Vega was a lecturer. I was in an organization called Blafrica Promotions, and Blafrica, we used to take people, Sonia Sanchez, many different people to different college campuses to talk about history. And one of the things that always was important for me to hear is how the relationship between Africans and African Americans, Caribbean Americans, including people from Puerto Rico, people from Cuba. It is something that, as we had talked about, was not always brought together. Matter of fact, there was a divide and conquer kind of a concept that has lasted And the cultural center was a major factor in helping to bring people together. Allow for the viewers to understand what takes place at the cultural center and some of the things you're looking to do.
Sure. I mean, to your point, Tony, I grew up at a time where Black and Latino studies or not even Latino studies then, was Black and Puerto Rican studies at the city college level were electives, right?
Mm-hmm.
These weren't things that you studied as kind of really important history or cultural contributions at all being discussed that included us, that looked like us, that spoke about us.
Mm-hmm.
And so the work of the center really does use an Afrocentric lens for telling our own stories. We were talking about this a little earlier offline, where, shows like yours, right? Radio programs, TV programs that really speak to our history as told by us and as documented by us. And so the center has become a telephone, if you will, of connecting communities of African descent, not only in the United States, but globally. And so we can speak to the ships making very many stops, and we can talk about the differences of colonization and other things that have been not only imposed upon us, but those things that we brought as a people that were taken and ripped away from us. And the center's work, I like to refer to us as a sunflower, where the core of the sunflower is culture. And our work has been to replace the petals on that sunflower that have been removed. So language, food, art, people tend to use art and culture interchangeably, and they're not. Mm-hmm. Art is a part of culture. Spirituality, ceremonies, ritual, all of those things that we brought as a richness, as the richness that was our culture and that was taken. The work of the center has been to repair that and to reinforce it and bring it back. So from scholarly lectures that we do, concerts, conferences, in-school programming, we have a young women's leadership program that we call Sankofa, where we are building the next leaders of women, young women, to understand the role that we as women do play as culture bearers. Right? From the point that, we have children in our wombs, the first drumbeat they hear is their mother's heartbeat. Right? From the time that we're born, the storytellers, the songs, the prayers that we hear are usually that connection, that maternal connection that we have to our mothers and our grandmothers. And so while storytelling now has become a very kind of popular, everyone wants to be telling stories, this has been our work throughout our history, to tell the stories, to document the stories, to promulgate the stories, to promote the stories, that what we bring through art, through culture, through food, through language, is a richness that has been denied us long enough. And so we are saying, grab it, taste it, speak it, dance it, sing it. And most importantly, look at the commonalities we share as people of African descent. So whether you are from Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Trinidad, Brazil, Colombia, Haiti, there's more we share in common than different. And our root culture is Africa. And we need to stand in that and claim it and celebrate it. So through our work, both celebratory and festive kind of festivals and concerts that we do, we also come into the classrooms and use different language, different pedagogies, different curriculum to speak to, no, slaves didn't come. Enslaved Africans were brought against their will. Right? And that's a different way of our young people even seeing themselves. We don't always, we don't want to talk from a deficit lens. We're talking from a lens that says we came as a powerful people. We came before we came against our will. And in fact, we're still here. And that in itself speaks volumes, because we're not supposed to be here. We're not supposed to be here, and yet here we are. So our work celebrates that. Again, we're located now in a renovated firehouse on 125th Street between Lexington and Park Avenues. That's no mistake. We intentionally wanted to be in a space where we had access to communities east and west, up and downtown, and kind of break those barriers of saying the kind of brown black conversation or highlighting where we're different. We really look to celebrate where we're the same and how we're the same.
And
that's
it's very easy to get to. The number 6 stops about a block away. So
the 4, 5, and 6. The 4,
4,
5,
5, and 6. That's true.
Yeah.
and 125th Street is beginning to change. When we started Harlem Week in '74, it looked a little like the South Bronx. The stores were vacant, and wow, 8th Avenue was a place that at night you were assigned to the police department as punishment because it was so dangerous. But things have changed. But the more things change, the more they remain the same. And it's always important to have people like you, which is why, I was looking at some of the things that was coming through the Harlem Tourism Board, and I got this, and I said, "Wow!" It brought back so many memories, and I haven't seen the new space. I have to come and check that out. But what we're trying to do is with the tourism board is to connect 9, 10, 11, and 12. Those are the 4 community boards that make the greater Harlem area. And the idea is if we kind of come together as the greater Harlem area, similar to the greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce concept, but in the area of the tourism and hospitality industry, by coming together, we can strengthen ourselves, but have platforms now like Soul City and the Harlem Community News or WACR to articulate the things that we've been saying for a long time, but maybe not have had the voice to get to as many people as we would want to. But so proud to be able to have that relationship and to continue as we go into 2024, because you will hopefully be, when we start talking about moving into the different community boards, you're in community board 11.
11, yes.
And so you're going to be the Harlem Tourism Board representative.
Good.
For community board 11. So whatever culture, whatever things that are happening that we need to focus on and what have you, we're going to use your organization to get the channel, to get the feeling, to get the understanding, because you represent what we've always been saying. So this is, and to begin to do it now as we move into, well, the first day of Kwanzaa is unity, and to 2024, this is a very interesting time, and all things happen for a reason. There's no such thing as a coincidence. And things happen when they're supposed to. So the spiritual connection, we're going to explore that a lot more. So we're going to really need your help to help us make sure.
No, but this is why we're here, right? We're a resource to our community. We are making a very, very concerted effort to make sure that the partnerships that we create be real partnerships. That's a big reason we claim is the success of the center has been the collaborations and the partnerships we've built over time. You're talking about any of our work, right? This show, the media, institutions like the Apollo and Jazzmobile and Studio Museum. You're talking about institutions that are about empowering our communities. For most of us, for us, we are not-for-profit organizations, and we have to raise money each year to do what we do. And we go to both public funders, we go to the philanthropic community, different foundations to support the work that we do, you know, hoping that they'll support the work that we do. But we understand too that what we do for the funding world isn't popular. because you are talking about empowering Black communities, which historically have been underfunded and not encouraged to do what we do as an institution, the institution that we are as a cultural institution. Our mission says we're about equity, racial, and social justice. Make no mistake about it. That is the work of the center. We're not about art for art's sake. You come into our gallery, which you were asking, what do we do? We're actually getting ready for a new exhibition that opens in January. But our galleries and everything that happens within our space is based on justice. It's based on racial and social justice. And so when you come to our space, you're not seeing art for art's sake. The experiences that you view and feel in our galleries is an art of resistance. It's an art of survival. As I said earlier, we're not even supposed to be here, but the art is reflective of our communities and the fact that we are still here and that we will be here. And as we talk about Central Harlem and West Harlem and East Harlem, even that labeling and that segmenting,
it's a division.
That division, that's been done to us enough. We need to break those barriers. We have to see where we connect, how we connect. We can also agree to disagree, right? Because we're not always going to agree, no matter who's right or wrong. We're not always going to agree. But there are certain things about who we are and what we stand for as people of African descent that we have to rally around, that we have to support each other on. And so our hope is, while we're all the way on the east side of 125th Street, is being able to find those connections where we're cross-promoting one another's work, cross-promoting one another's organizations, that we're partnering. We've partnered with the Apollo, we've partnered with Jazzmobile, we've partnered with the Schomburg, we've partnered with Studio, building these connections that don't, not one outshining the other, but that we're lifting one another. And that in fact, when we're able to see greatness in the other, right, in that other institution, that we call it, right? We're able to, man, what a great show, or what a great festival, or really being able to recognize that, we're not in competition. We're all running a very long race. As even as we speak to how generationally, as leaders of institutions, as I prepare for my transition out and my retirement, making sure that we have cultivated and developed a leadership from within the organization, from within our communities, that it doesn't become a heavy lift for us. We're able to easily say the organization is going to survive, and all of these institutions that I've named and more, that they're going to survive and they're going to far outlive us. That's what the purpose of establishing these organizations is about. It's not to shine a spotlight on us for a moment. It's the long run. It's the passing of a baton and the passing of the baton and the passing of the baton, and really being able to support and lift one another in all that we're doing in this neighborhood, especially when you look at the way that Harlem is changing so very, very quickly with the new residents, as folks keep terming, that's the term I keep hearing when I'm in kind of these public spaces, the new residents that are coming into our communities. We have to support each other and make sure that we're protecting our—
You're still here. Now, give us a little information about some of the different, you have an art show exhibit coming up. We'll talk about that, but so that people can understand some of the things. You have concerts, you have lectures. Tell us a little bit about some of those things, so if people want to get involved, they'll know how to.
Sure. First of all, we're always looking for volunteers. So if folks are interested in being a part of the organization, visit us at CCCADI.org. That's 3 C's, CCCADI.org, which stands for Caribbean Cultural Center, African Diaspora Institute. When you go to our site, you'll see a lot. I mean, since 2020, when everything became virtual, all of our programs have been intentionally designed to be online so that folks can visit the work we've done over the last 3 or 4 years. And we continue to, while we're back in what is a hybrid model, we're in the building 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. All of our programming is online, and wherever it's hybrid, folks can come to the actual space and also view programs in real time as we're doing now, kind of this live stream. But we're also online at both our website. We have a site on Facebook, and we also have a YouTube channel. So you will see concerts. You'll do every summer. We do the Afri Bembe Festival in East Harlem, where we are introducing to the East Harlem community, again, those kind of similar ways that we celebrate one another. We started out when we first came to the space about 15 years ago, to the area 15 years ago. We were part of a 3-day festival called the Loíza Festival. And Loíza is a town in Puerto Rico where enslaved Africans were brought in. And a few of these families that moved to East Harlem back in the 40s and 50s started this festival on their own and had actually secured a 3-day permit to do the festival. And it was a celebration of all kind of Afro-Puerto Rican traditions. When we came up about 15 years ago, the founders of the festival were all aging out, or transitioning to spirit. And they came to us and asked us to help save the festival. And we did that for about 7 years. The last of the elders passed away, and her family decided they wanted to close out doing this particular festival. And so we came back with a festival we call Afri Bembe, and it's introducing the East Harlem community to African traditions that they might not necessarily be familiar with. So on the
when is that festival? What is it? An annual date?
Well, the date changes, but it's always the second Saturday in August. And there's a real possibility this year that we're going to make it a 2-day festival, depending on how we secure the funding. But, on a stage, you'll see music and dance from Puerto Rico. We can't ignore the neighborhood we're in, right? So there'll be music and dance from Puerto Rico, groups from Africa, from Jamaica, from Haiti, from Trinidad, from Brazil. That's the main stage. Our children's village does mask making and arts and crafts, all grounded in the African experience. Vendors and foods. I keep mentioning food. You have the plantain, which is very familiar in many of our communities. So you have the plantain in Africa and a food called fufu, where in Puerto Rico we call it mofongo, where in the Dominican Republic they call it mango. It's the same plantain. Similarly, so it's kind of same pot, different spoons, right? And so once we understand that in our foods and in our music, the universality of the drum, right? The drum being used, for festive occasions, used for ceremony, used for funerary rites, the universality of the drum, even in Asian and Native traditions, looking at that as a central way of always having been. We were denied the drum for so long, right? We were not allowed to drum. The fact that we've been able to reclaim it and retain it becomes a big part of why Afri Bembe, for Africa, Bembe meaning a jam. So it's like a big African jam that we produce, a day-long event that really gives folks an opportunity to taste the flavors of the diaspora from our vendors and view and participate in the music from the main stage, where you'll see people going, that sounds familiar. Right? That either that rhythm or that word, because there are even words when we talk about Latin music, the mambo music. Mambo is an African word.
Right.
Rumba is an African word.
And the drums, all of those types of things.
Conga is an African word. So, folks start to live the experience. We kind of become these living, and I say that to people who come to visit the center, because we're not a museum. We don't have a collection, and our exhibitions change quite regularly for that very reason. It's being able to give our audiences an opportunity to experience different things from within our culture that you might not necessarily have access to otherwise.
when you have concerts, you have a theater. What's the seating capacity at this
We
point?
do not have a theater. This is where we then, as I mentioned earlier, will partner with an Apollo
Uh-huh.
or the Aaron Davis Hall at City College, which
Okay.
for many, many years we thought was our theater because we were always producing events over there.
Yes.
We just finished 2 partnerships this year with Harlem Stage. We presented Pedrito Martinez earlier this year, and
Uh-huh.
just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had a program there in partnership with Harlem Stage where we presented a group from the Dominican Republic alongside a Haitian artist, DJ, who was doing world music. And it's important because even when you look at the island of Hispaniola, this island that is shared by both Haiti and the Dominican Republic, but there's
Which is really
all this
one.
conflict, right? There's
Right.
this conflict and there's constant how we're different. And there's this boundary, this invisible boundary that's been drawn. And we're saying,
And it's invisible. I know at City College, I was part of the group that helped develop the Dominican Institute. And I know we went my first trip to the Dominican Republic was to develop a relationship. Yolanda Moses was the president, and she went to talk to some of the scholars in the Dominican Republic. And one night, we were driving, and the driver got out. He said, and he had the lights on, and he walked about, maybe about a couple of feet, and he says, "Do you know that I'm now standing in Haiti? You're standing in the Dominican Republic."
yep,
And
yep.
it made so much sense of understanding that it was just because of the colonizers, one from Spain and one from France. There's this division of one island, which was, of course, Hispaniola. And there was a fear because obviously Napoleon was defeated. So,
Yeah, but then even that conditioning that happens to, white being right and the lightening of skin and the not
right,
wanting to identify with,
right.
whether it's identifying or connecting to the motherland of Africa, or just being able to say, looking in the mirror and being okay with the fact that you are Black, right? But
And
there's all this conditioning that has happened for years. And, the internal kind of, the colonized mind is a mess. What's happened in our own minds.
that's true. About each other, Willie
Job
Lynch.
well done. Job
I
well
was,
done with
I was
colonization.
just talking to
Job
my
well
daughter.
done.
She did a paper, and I was saying you got to include the Willie Lynch factor because, unfortunately, it was so brilliant that it's still happening. You
Yes.
don't need to have guns. You don't need to do that to control people. If you get their mind, once you have their mind, you control them. But we have to. One of the things, and I'm going to make a resolution through the tourism board and through some of the things we were doing because August, again, you talk about Halloween, but there's so many different festivals. But I would like for the tourism board to be, again, we're doing things with Africa, we're doing things with Ghana, but we don't always do things for East Harlem and try to create a situation where, people from Central Harlem have no idea of the culture and some of the things, some of the tourist related, some of the food, some of the things that are combining. And I think that that's one of the benefits of the Harlem tourism and hospitality industry is to begin to show that connection.
Mm-hmm.
The hotels and all of the stuff that are coming up. And I'd be interested in seeing what else some of those developers are doing on East Harlem. There was this saying that as 125th Street started to develop, they were pushing a lot of the people that they did not want further east, further east, further east.
That's exactly what's happened.
And I remember that community board, they were saying, well, sooner or later they're going to begin the river because development is, moving and moving and moving. So, what are some of the things that are taking place in East Harlem, especially on 125th Street? that you know
Yeah,
of?
I think that you make a very good point. I mean, where are folks supposed to go? And this move, we come to 125th Street, and I look at this situation through a very different lens. And everyone who comes to visit the center, when we do a welcome or I do a welcome, I remind them that what is happening outside our doors, the drug addiction, the homelessness, the mental illness, that could be any of us. That
Mm-hmm.
could be any of us. That could be any of our family members. So before we start throwing shade, before we start, you can't look at, and I'm talking white, black, it doesn't matter where we're from. When folks come to visit us, that's the first thing I address, because I know that people get shook when they see what's happening on East 125th Street. But let's not forget that on that same strip, there are 4 methadone programs.
Mm-hmm.
There is no mental illness treatment that's consistent. Our neighborhoods have been kind of the places the dumping
The
ground.
dumping ground, which
You have the homeless shelter on Randall's Island that comes and drops the men off on the corner of 125th Street and Lexington Avenue every single day to look for work, right? So there's a imbalance there in what is now kind of these developers coming into our neighborhoods on steroids, because there are 11 developers in East Harlem right now, today, working and building and tearing down and building up. You have the developers coming in, and then you still have this community of, unfortunate people in the community who
where are
aren't
they going to go?
where they supposed to go. And when we talk about offering assistance and help, where is it? Because we see it every single day when we come to work. So that's one. Where are we sending folks? We talk about affordable housing. There is nothing affordable about any of those developments coming up. None. We know that the average income in East Harlem for a family of 4, the average income is $32,000. Who lives on $32,000? And so when you look at the rate sheet for the affordable housing in these new developments, no one's in that
that bracket. Yeah.
In that bracket. So where are folks supposed to go? Just before COVID, I was meeting with as many of the developers who would hear me, and I show up like this like all the time. Meeting with them and saying to them, how are you showing up as a good neighbor? How are you showing up as a good corporate partner in this community? Because you're coming in on steroids. You're coming in and you're just tearing stuff up. So some of these developers have worked out arrangements where they had to make space available to not-for-profit organizations. This was got nothing to do with me. This was just kind of worked out, I guess, through city council and all of the folks that do what they do when negotiating these deals. And while we are presently on 125th between Lexington and Park, we've just secured an additional space on 3rd Avenue and 126th Street, which was given to us by one of the developers. Nothing is free, so it's not totally free, but it's a space that we are now calling the Institute for Racial and Social Justice in Arts and Culture. And it'll be a workspace for artists of color, yes, specifically dedicated to artists of color, to come in and rehearse, work, present, co-work, practice, be trained. We're providing technical assistance on intellectual property, how to write a proposal, developing marketing material for themselves. But a big part of what this new space will lend itself to is the Entrepreneurial Assistance Center for Artists of Color. It's going to function kind of like an incubator that will prepare artists to not to be in the workforce space. They are the workforce space. And so we're using this opportunity for them to have a space that is either affordable or low cost. We're hoping to keep it, low cost or free. We're hoping to keep it free, but a space where these artists will be able to come together to rehearse, to present, to create together. We're having a digital media center as part of this, because many of the artists are saying, they want to be able to be in this space, right? StreamYard and Zoom and the whole wide world web. but protecting their property, because once it's out there, you know, it gets usurped, it gets used, it gets stolen. So we're helping to provide the technical assistance to help them protect the work and to help those. And this has been a direct response to artists. So we didn't pull this out of the air. This has been 3 years of work with about 230 artists who are saying, this is what I need. This is what I need. This is what I need. Some want to be able to come together and just rest, right? Just kind of be in
safe space,
in a safe space where they can just rest and be an artist. Because many are like, you know, I'm working on this application for a grant. I don't know how to do a budget. I don't know how to write about myself. I just want to do my art. And that is what the artist should be doing. And what we did see and what we know historically, Tony, through the art lens, is that our artists are the activists. They're the ones who are, we all have that voice, we don't use it. Our artists use their voice, whether it's through dance, through poetry, spoken word, through visual arts.
Last poets.
Exactly. The last poets, the welfare poets, you know, Abiodun. I mean, any number. Look at the space that is the New Yorican Poets Cafe downtown. I mean, you just have all these places where artists have been able to use their voice and their talent, their creative expressions to speak on positions that many of us choose not to speak on. You know, and where else? But where better than during the lockdown, where streets were converted into Black Lives Matter visuals.
Matter of fact, Nicole Evans is. Well, I know at one point she was on the board or involved with the center.
She's on my board. She's on the board of directors. Yeah.
She's also on the board of the Harlem Tourism Board. So we're developing some interesting connections, and this is the first of many, because the idea and it's been with me, but sometimes things have to happen so that you can understand why it was with you for so long. But this is a conversation that should be considered. There are so many things that now that we have certain types of vehicles to promote, there's so many things that I would like to make sure that we learn about and talk about that we just don't know. And we're just talking about, again, the division, but just for the sake of explaining, Community Board 10, Community Board 11, it's almost like we were talking about Haiti. I mean, you know, you walk across the street of Fifth Avenue, you know,
you're in a community board.
so the idea for us not being able to connect as much as possible now, we can solve that issue, and I think that it's important. Are you working or do any type of work with the Harlem Arts Alliance with Vosa Rivers?
Absolutely, we have a very long history with Vosa.
Right. Yeah, because of Mata.
It's been a very long history, and I think.
What about Silicon Harlem?
I actually, when we started our youth empowerment program, we had a program called Apps Academy, and we worked very closely with Clayton Banks in training young people in creative. What we did through that program, and we're actually reactivating it, we have done, the young people created an app where we landmarked spots in East Harlem. And with your phone, you could take a walking tour of East Harlem and call up images, the corner of 111th Street and Madison Avenue where Tito Puente lived. You know, you call up the app and you'll see a short video of Tito Puente playing timbales. You'll see Tito little boy. And this was all done with the leadership and the partnership of working with.
Yeah, we're looking to do some more of that type of stuff. There's a lot of those things now based on AI and the virtual stuff. There's a lot more, and that is very important for tourism. We have a little bit more time. Are there any shout outs or people that you might want to say, hey, thank you for helping us, so that we can know, you know, who's been able to help you get to where you are?
But if I start, I know I'm going to forget.
You'll get in trouble. I know that.
I don't want to do that, but I did mention some of the partners earlier, right? We are working closely, and we've just been always kind of in the same circles. Sade over at the National Black Theater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You mentioned Nicoa Evans, and we've been a part of her Harlem Park to Park since almost its inception, I want to say.
Yeah.
And with her too, I went to her and said, "Hey, why does this stop on Fifth Avenue? We're on the East Side. Come." And so you made a point of saying you're making a resolution to make sure that you're reaching out and working more with East Harlem and with us. And I want to make a promise to you that we want to do the same. We want to assure that this is going to continue, that this partnership will continue. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for reaching out to us, based on an email you got, I think, from my executive assistants that simply said, how do we become part of the Harlem Tourism Board? And that was maybe 2 weeks ago, and here we are. So I'm just as dedicated to wanting to connect with you. I know I've got my friends in Central and West Harlem. That's never been an issue. It's how do we build on that and assure that the partnerships and the support that we provide to each other continues to be all that it can possibly
Plus,
be.
it helps us. It makes us all stronger. There are a number of things, and as we move into 2024 and 2025, it's these numbers. It's hard for me to believe, that it's been 50 years for Halloween. But what you said is very true and something that I believe in. We have to create the each one teach one mindset. We have to create, because obviously we have to go. I want to be on the beach someplace close to where your family is, in a couple of years, or in Africa or someplace, because I paid my dues for 50, 60 years. That's, it's time to relax. But we have to make sure that wherever we are, we know that we have laid the groundwork. We have started working with people who can continue. That's why conversations like this are important, because it's recorded. Who knows what they're going to say, many years ago. Arturo Schomburg, people didn't understand that connection, but now we can make that clear. And that's why it's such an honor to have you and to talk to you, because you're bringing back so many memories, Felipe Luciano and many of the people that, talked about the same things. I was in the Panther Party, with Jabal Joseph and the Young Lloyds, and we took over Lincoln Hospital and all of those types of things, are things that kind of got lost in many ways. We don't do it, but this is a time to bring some of that back. Unity, the first day of Kwanzaa.
That's our job as elders. It's absolutely our job. Tony, can I take a few minutes to talk about the
Sure, please.
So in February, actually mid-January, but I'll say for February, we're opening our new exhibition, which is called Lakai Salakai, which means home is home in Haitian Creole. And it's the theme of the program is marking the 220th anniversary of Haitian independence. And we are looking at this as our theme, being integrated in all of the programming that the center does. So when we first opened at the Firehouse, we had an exhibition called Home, Memory, and Future. And we hosted about 8 artists in our galleries, all of whom had grown up in Harlem, East-West Harlem. And what they brought was their vision for what home meant to them. And for many of us, I remember my grandmother being on 102nd Street between 1st and 2nd Avenue, living in a tenement, the plastic on the sofa, the colors of her walls being pink and blue and yellow, and not understanding as a kid what that meant. And it wasn't until my first trip to Puerto Rico, being on a plane, traveling with my mom and seeing the colors of the houses, that I was like, whoa. And my mom, and I was maybe 12, and my mom saying, and this is why your grandmother's house looks the way it looks, because in contrast to the brick and the gray and the cold and the snow of New York. This is what she's created for us in her home. And so we did that home exhibition when we opened at the new space in I think it was like 2016. But now this exhibition is focused on home, and it will feature, if I'm not mistaken, it's 10 artists of Haitian descent. And what we want to do is use Haiti's history to serve us as a blueprint for how the African diaspora has, will, and continues to hold on to home, acknowledge the work of our ancestors, the history of our ancestors, as we remember. And I like to say we have to remember to remember. Wherever we establish,
that's true.
Because we move on up,
Right,
we move to new communities, we get these great jobs, we have this great education, but we can't forget those opportunities weren't there for us not so long ago, right? And so as we progress and make kind of these strides and define, however one wants to define success, but we have to remember, like it wasn't so long ago when this was not achievable. This wasn't easy. And so the exhibition will run from early February through June, will be accompanied by a myriad of public programs, from performances to talks to artist talks and presentations. So I encourage everyone again to visit our website, CCCADI.org. The exhibition was planned to open now in January. We've had to postpone it just a little bit. So it's
Black History Month.
But I think in time for Black History Month, again, this lens that we use of, even in the schools still, Black History Month kind of being this, the cotton picking South experience, as opposed to understanding that we're talking a history, a Black experience that is global, that we are present everywhere. And wherever enslavement and freedom for Black people has existed, we need to acknowledge that, and that we are capable, we are successful, we are claiming what is ours, and the wealth of this country is built on our backs. We can't deny that. We know that they just uncovered recently the burial grounds on the east side, the African burial grounds in the bus depot on 126th Street and 2nd Avenue.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Harlem burial grounds have been uncovered right up the block from us on the east side.
That's interesting. We have to talk more, because there's so many things. Matter of fact, and this is, I don't want to preempt Chancellor Banks, but the public school will soon have a wonderful way of understanding the diaspora through some of the materials that they're putting together. That will probably be announced around February. But wow, there's so many things that we need to talk about. We definitely want to talk about the Haitian exhibit. I would like to do some marketing, an article about the revolution, because a lot of people are still in that. There was just a movie. I was wondering, when they had the movie about Napoleon recently, I was wondering, were they going to talk about how the Napoleon army was defeated in Haiti? But they kind of left that out.
No.
But it's been such a pleasure. This is, again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I don't want to take you too away from family and the beautiful sun. What's the temperature there now?
It's about 80.
Oh goodness!
But it's already for us. It's going to be 6 o'clock. So because we're an hour ahead for part of the year, so it's already kind of cooling down and getting dark. But we're going to go out for dinner. And
it's been a pleasure. I will make sure that we get together. Sometimes when we get better, we can go over and have a brunch at the new hotel on 125th.
I would love that. And I again, Tony, thank you for having us and kind of generating this conversation. When the exhibition is ready and we have the full program, we'll share with you. But if we could come on again and really talk
Yeah, of
about
course.
really break out all of the programs that are planned.
And especially on the radio. And matter of fact, I'll make sure to WHCR we have a large Latino audience. Before the Dominican Republic had a voice in Harlem, WCR became that voice, and it was a tremendous assistance in so many different ways. So we will make this happen. We will begin to help promote the things that you're talking about, because what you're talking about is what we're talking about. It's almost a different name of plantains. They're different names, but they're all sweet. So that's how we'll do the relationship. Thank you so much, Melanie.
Thank you again, Tony.
Please, and one last thing, if you want to make a contribution to the center, can you do that on the website or
as well? You'll see the donate button come up a couple of times. So, we talked a little bit earlier about the funding, and one of the things that is always kind of addressed to us is, where's your community supporting you? Where's your community supporting you? Mm-hmm. And we don't show that in our individual donorship. It's something we're always working on building. So any contribution that you can make to help support us it's greatly appreciated. I like to say, give. It makes you feel good. So do give, and give what you can, and give as often as you can. So there are options for recurring gifts. And if it's your year end, we're still close to the end of the year. If you'd like to make a year-end donation, visit our website and you'll follow the donate buttons and links to support what we do. And I hope you will. I hope you all will.
And we welcome you as a new member of the Harlem Tourism Board.
So, thank you so much.
So
have a great year.
You too. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And of course, Happy Kwanzaa. This is the first day of Kwanzaa. It was a fitting time for us to have this conversation.
All about unity.
Take care. Bye. Enjoy.
You too.
See you when you get back. And that's pretty much, wow, that was an amazing conversation with an amazing woman talking about an amazing organization. And that's part of what the Harlem Tourism Board will continue to start to do in 2024, is connecting the greater Harlem area, literally the community boards 9, 10, 11, and 12, so that we can begin to see the many different things that the Harlem tourism and hospitality industry can bring. So happy Kwanzaa to you all, and we will be back. I have to talk with the crew. I'm not sure where we're going to be next week. Maybe we'll be here, but definitely we'll be here the first of the new year. So we'll be back soon. So again, thank you so much for your time. This has been a good year, and next year is going to be even better. So if for some reason I am not able to see you before the new year, Happy New Year to you. Be safe. And we're going to do some real interesting things in 2024. So make sure that you keep us on your mindset. Take care. And again, thanks to the Soul City team for providing this opportunity. Take care, be good, and be safe.
This is Kia Rogers, and you're listening to Urbanology with my dad, Tony Rogers, on WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Urbanology.